Hello, my name is Roy Canterbury. I'm going to be your host today on Archery Talk 101. What we're going to learn today is a little bit about your practice tips, whether you're going to use them for field or target. We're going to go through the different types and what the advantages and some advantages and disadvantages are of the different tips and how you can use them. So start with there are several companies that make them. Saunders Archery makes them. PDP. There's Go Tip. There's I think another one called X Point. There's a lot of companies that make them. The main ones that I've dealt with is Saunders Archery. I use them whenever I can because I'm from Nebraska and so are they. So I kind of go there. And the other one is the PDP bullets. Those are another one that's popular around, and they're a lot of other companies make them as well, but those are just ones I'm more familiar with. So let's go over the kind of different tips that you have. One is called a combo point, and it's kind of it comes to a fairly sharp point, and it bulges out, goes a little bit narrow, and gets wider, and then it fits in there. So it's a little bit different. It's kind of a smooth edge. There's no really sharp changes on it. That one, uh, you need to, or like all the field points, you need to get the right diameter. Because what happens is if the tip is too wide for the shaft, when you run your fingers down the shaft and down to the point, you're going to feel a little ridge. And that ridge, when it comes out of the target, is hard to pull out. It grabs onto it. So you want to make sure that the diameter of your point is the same diameter as the insert that goes in there. So it has a nice smooth transition. It could be smaller, but I wouldn't go too much smaller, so I wouldn't stay right in there. Now, most of your carbon shafts going to run like a 5/16 diameter. And some of your skinnier shafts might run a 9/32. And a little bit about how some of them are numbered. Like if anybody remembers the old aluminum shafts, like you had a 2114 or 2117. Well, what that first number indicated is the diameter. It would be 21/64 diameter. And then the second number was the thickness of the wall. So if you had like a 2117 or 2114 shaft, you use a 21/64 diameter tip. They come in multiple different varieties of weights and diameters as well. Just an example, the Saunders tip, the combo point, comes anywhere from 17/64 to 11/32 and 55 grain to 150 grain. So, those are nice targets. They had tendency to go into your targets really easy. There's not a lot of resistance in there, and they pull out fairly easy as well. One of the next ones is the bullet point. And that's the one I normally use in that one. How that one is shaped is there's just kind of a cone on the front, and it goes back to a smooth diameter on the back. There's only just one little transition point right there. Those come in 9/32 to 11/32 diameter, and you're 75 grain to 145 grain. So that's how that one is. Then let's go into another type. Would be like a combo bulge point or an easy pull one. How they're designed is they have kind of a nice little sharp point on them. They get a little bit wider, they get skinnier, and then they bulge out. And then right before it hits the insert, they taper down to the same diameter as your insert. And those come in 9/32 and 17/64, 85, 100, and 125 grain. Now, what those are designed is the bulge is what they call it a bulge or an easy pull, is the diameter of the point gets a little bit wider than the diameter of the shaft. So it makes just a slightly larger hole, which makes it easier to pull back out. Now, another one that we're going to go into is going to be a target point. Now, those are normally a little bit shorter. They come to a sharp point and taper out, and then go to flat, kind of like a bullet point, but it's only a sharper point. Where the bullet point's more rounded. And Saunders makes them in 65 and 75 grain tip, and 9/32 to 11/32 diameter. Those more exclusively used for target. They're a nice point. A lot of target archers like to use those. And then you have what they call a bludgeon. And that one it's normally made out of a rubber or a plastic material. You can get them in multiple different colors, different weights. What they are is they're basically a big piece of rubber with a big flat point on the front. Some of them have little nubs on the front of them, but those are used mostly for shooting at targets that you're not going to stick into. They'll bounce off. You can use them for, in some cases for hunting, in turkeys, for a headshot, more just kind of knocks them out. But that's a little bit different one, have different purposes for that. You're not going to shoot at a normal target with it because it won't penetrate it or bounce off. So you're going to shoot those items that you want to have the tip not stick into, but bounce off of. Then they also have glue-in ones. Now, PDP calls it a speed point. What you do is you get whatever diameter of the shaft that you're going to use, and then they come in all kinds of different sizes, lots of them, because they're going to be for each one. Like they have ones designed for gold tips, and then they have the different aluminum sizes. They have different shafts sizes for your carbons. There's all kinds of different diameters in there, and you can get them to match your shaft. And the disadvantage of a screw in is it can come loose. The advantage of the glue in is it doesn't come loose, but in order to take it out, you got to melt that glue. And sometimes that's kind of a little bit on the difficult side. But for a target arrow, you're not going to take your points out and change them. You're not like you're going to go from field tip to broadhead or something else. So a lot of them do that because I don't have to worry about your tips coming loose. And if you go into some of the specialty ones, you're going to have, the other manufacturer makes all those. You're going to have, there's one I found called the top hats. Screw in, it's a steel point. It's comes to a real sharp tape. The whole thing is tapered just about the whole way. There's just a little bit of flat pit on the spot on the back, and those are designed for target and 3D competition. You use a little O-ring on them to keep tight, prevent them from rattling loose. It's a real straight target, and it's made out of tool steel, so it's a real hard tip, which will last quite a while. And that's kind of about the differences between all the different screw-in tips. Now, there are some glue-on ones. If you're shooting traditional equipment using a wooden shaft, you have just a field point and a flat bludgeon one, where it's just flat on the tip. It's don't really have a sharp point on it. And those come in the diameter of the wood shafts, which would be 5/16, 11/32, and 23/64 in 100 and 125 grain tip. So they're nice because what you're going to do is you're going to taper the front of your shaft on the wooden one, and then you're going to glue these on. Normally, like with a hot melt glue is a good way to put them on. That way they can be removed if needed be by heating them up. You just got to be careful to get them too hot and, of course, burn the wood. And there are some tips that come in weights clear up to 250 grain. There's some really heavy ones you can get out there. If you want to go with a really heavy one, like the Saunders Field Point, you can get from 75 grains to 225 grains. Now, how do you know which diameter? Well, that's going to be done in shaft. But the weight of your tip is going to depend on what you're shooting, how you're shooting it, and the overall weight of your arrow. So if you have like a 200-300 grain shaft arrow, then you don't want to put a 250 grain tip on it just because it's way too front heavy. So you can balance those out, find out which one you use. Now, my carbon arrows, I use a 100 grain tip because it gets a nice balance and they fly good. The heavier the front of the tip, the more it's going to drop as you get further out ranges. So that's why a lot of them make different diameters and different grains of tips. So that's kind of what we're going to look at for your field tips. Then you have into your broadheads and different types of that. And I'll cover that in next week's podcast, where I'll go over the different type broadheads and hunting heads, where there's all kinds of them there. So that's just a little bit of information about your target tips. Now, one thing I have found over the years, if you take a little wax when you get ready to put your tips in, like a candle wax or a wax you'd use like for making jellies, a paraffin wax, put a little wax on the threads when you put them in, you're going to be able to get them tighter and they're not going to stick and they're going to stay in a little better. I found that many years ago. Um, it's just one of those things that you learn over the years, makes it nice to help keep the arrow tips in a little bit better into your arrows. So that's kind of the gist of different tips. Your field points, they're nice for doing in field targets. They go in nice, they pull out nice. They're a little bit of a sharper. Your combo points and all those are nice for going in targets. The bullet points are a little bit fatter, so they don't go in quite as easy because they're not as sharp a point, so they don't penetrate as much into the targets. But it's all personal preference on that. I would recommend using, finding one that you like and then just staying with it just to be consistent. That way you don't have to worry about which one, just grab the tip. Now if you have your arrows set up to where, okay, these I'm going to shoot target with them, these are going to shoot with 3D, and you might find one point works better pulling out of the foam 3D targets. So then you would set up your arrows with those type of tips for your 3D arrows. If you're going to shoot just regular target, you might find that out of the normal backstops, the layered foam targets, which a lot of them are using now, they work a little better maybe with a different tip. That's something to play around with and then see. Just make sure your diameter of the tip matches the diameter of your arrow, so that you don't have that a ridge going in or the ridge going out when you're pulling the arrow out or when it's getting shot in. So that's kind of what we have here. If you want to get a little more information, you can always join the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group. There we have a lot of information. We have instructors and Bowtechs in there can answer some of your questions. So join that group. It's a private group, so just make sure you go in there and answer the questions and get in that group, and then you can post your questions that you have in archery. They can do that. The other thing you can do is you can follow the archertalk101.com website. There we have information about upcoming classes that are going to be offered. There's a coaching program available that you can get to from there. Just go in there and click on coaching and then fill out your application to get into the coaching program. There's a lot of good benefits for that. You struggle through getting your archery shooting going on, and it's always nice to have somebody that can show you what's going on. You get through your problems much quicker if you have somebody helping you look at your shooting form. So that's where the coaching program come in. It's online, so you don't have to worry about going anywhere to go shoot if you don't want to. You can shoot from anywhere. You can set a target up in your backyard and get coaching, and it's live coaching, so it's one-on-one live casts with you and maybe a few other people in your group, as well as the instructor, and you get to talk to them one at a time and live on the coaching program. The other thing to do is make sure you look at the videos that are on the website and go from there. So remember, next week I'll be talking about broadheads and hunting tips, and just I'll have a link in the description down below how to join the Archery Talk 101 Facebook group, and we'll go from there. Once again, this has been Rory Canterbury on Archery Talk 101. I've been your host today. Thanks for listening.